Hey, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hope everybody's having a blessed day. This is Carl from sovcits and Chronicles. Today, we're going to be in the courtroom of Judge Tammi Hayward out of Clayton County, Georgia. She's going to be going up against a young lady who's being evicted, who was a tenant in a property that was foreclosed on. And now that it's been foreclosed on, she's being evicted because she's refusing to leave. So she's basically standing on some type of trust or tribal or treaty or something like that. So if that being said, with Judge Hayward being a no-nonsense judge, I'm anxious to see how she's going to handle this. So let's get to this proceeding.
And the parties are Ebony Milner Tribe as petitioner and the Federal National Mortgage Association as the respondent. And I also sent you a chat with a little bit of additional information.
Okay. All right. So Miss Ebony Milner is present. Also the Mr. Brown, who's on here on behalf of Federal National Mortgage Association. Mr. Brown, Miss Milner, is my understanding that this was heard in magistrate court and this is a request for appeal. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. This is a petition for review from a dispossessory judgment. She was a tenant at sufferance post foreclosure.
Okay. All right. So Ms. Milner, tell me what's going on.
Judge, well, this is a case of land rights, tribal law, and treaties.
No, ma'am. No.
And I would just like to say that I'm a tribal member, part of the Cash Box Trust Tribe.
No, ma'am.
Government.
No, ma'am. We're not doing that.
And American Indian landowner.
No, ma'am. We're not doing all that. So this is a simple eviction. So you can tell me how much was owed, how much you paid, whether there's anything to that allowed you to stay in the property, or whether there's money owed to you. I don't do the whole trust, tribe, all of that, because that's not what we do.
Well, that's what this is in regards to.
Well, then, ma'am, that's not what we're doing here. I would either have to transfer you to a tribal court, which I don't know of one exists for you, or for superior court, because this involves a foreclosure. Essentially, he bought the house through a foreclosure. You were a tenant in the house at the time, or you owned the house and he bought it under the foreclosure. And then it was whether you get to stay in the house and pay rent or whether you're going to be evicted. Am I clear, Mr. Brown?
Yes, Your Honor. And
right. Because I don't deal with I went to law school for 3 years, have practiced law for over 30 years, have been a judge for over 12 years. I don't do the trust stuff because that's some arcane, esoteric stuff that you all believe that we don't follow here in the judicial system.
I understand. Well, I would also like to say that I'm not here to handle any of my private affairs in the public.
You asked for the appeal.
Yes. And as I was stating, I'm a tribal member, part of the Cash Box Trust Tribe, and also an Indian American landowner. So this case is in regards to trust and tribal land.
So the property, the foreclosure is on a house on tribal land?
Correct.
Which tribe?
I'm sorry?
Which tribe?
The Ebony Milner tribe.
No, sir. I don't know of that tribe, ma'am. So we
yes, and all the documentation had been put on file as well.
Okay.
Post foreclosure.
I got all that, but here's the thing. So I'm gonna explain one more time. Whoever's in the background or their Miller tribe, not sure who that is. I'm gonna have to be there. Because you're the one who's listed on You're the one who's listed on this case. So I can't hear from all of that. So here's the thing. Like I said, I've explained to you that if somebody purchases a home through foreclosure, then the people who were owners of the home or buying the home have two options. They can leave or they can be treated as tenants in the home. And in this case, it appears that Mr. Brown's client sought to evict you, and now you are asking for a review of that. So in my role in this court, I can go through the case as if it was never heard in magistrate court. But what I will tell you is I'm going to ask very specific questions. I'm going to follow the law under the state of Georgia with respect to landlord tenant. And if you're not able to provide me that information, then I'm going to determine that you're not able to prosecute the case in the way that it needs to be, and I'll dismiss it for want of prosecution.
Well, again, American tribal landowner, so
Okay.
those laws
No,
that you
ma'am.
may speak of don't
No.
apply to me.
No. Well, then, okay, I'm going to dismiss your appeal for want of prosecution. The court does not have jurisdiction over American tribal land, nor is there a designation of this property being a tribal land. So at this point, the court is going to dismiss this for want of prosecution.
All right, y'all. So that's the end of the proceeding. Judge Hayward, she pretty much, handled her business. She shut her down. She did not let her do that tribal treaty defense. So it looks like this young lady is going to be being evicted. I know there was some voices in the background, and I believe that was somebody that was involved with her. That must have been on the Zoom somehow. All right, so now we're going to be moving on to not a proceeding, but a rant or a testimony by a young man about how he got about 4 or 5 citations between Florida, Chicago, and I believe Texas or something like that. And he's basically kind of giving a testimony on how his right to travel actually worked, or I guess I could say how his not having a contract with these states, it worked in his favor, and he was able to get multiple citations or multiple tickets and not get a bench warrant for not showing up for court. Tickets, there not being any records of tickets or anything. So, let's hear this guy out, and then I'll give my commentary at the end. Let's get to it.
Yo, family, how y'all doing? What's going on? So, I want to tell you guys something that happened to me recently, right? So, we're going to be talking about my right to travel experience, failed and succeed, right? And I'm going to tell you the reason why I failed, right? So, let me explain how it went, right? So, many people know me, right? I do right to travel and everything like that. I got the passport. I'm on the do not detain, right? And so, I end up getting a car right from the dealership, and the car register and everything like that. But I got this for my wife, right? So me personally, I don't drive it, right? So it was one night, I was wanting to go to the store. I was in a rush, and I'm like, man, you know what? I don't feel like taking the car out the garage and doing all this stuff, right? So I just end up hopping in her car, right? And I start driving, right? So I'm traveling down, I think we in Texas. We stay in Texas. So we traveling down the road. So I end up speeding a little bit, right? So the police put on his sirens and his flashes and everything like that, and he pulled us over, right? So once he pulled us over, he asked me for license registration, right? Now, let me explain this though, right? The car is registered, so it's no ifs, ands, or buts that is jurisdiction, right? Like you literally driving around with jurisdiction, right? So the officer came to the car. He license registration. I end up giving him my passport card, international driver's license, right? He asked for insurance. I got insurance on the vehicle, so I showed him the insurance card, right? So everything checked out besides the international driver's license. He said, hey, where you from? I said, man, I live in American Samoa, right? So I'm throwing them off and everything like that because it's only so much I really can say I'm traveling with a registered vehicle. And so what he did was he said, yeah, man, how long you been in Texas? I said, a few months. He said, yeah, so you pretty much established residency because if you've been in the state for a certain period of time, they want you to have a license. And I said, what I told him, I said, well, I come back and forth to Texas. I don't live out here permanently, right? And so he asked me for an address that's here in the state, right? So I gave him an address. I'm like, we own one of the properties over here. So I'm like, I don't live here, right? So he said, okay, I just need you to sign the citation. So after he made me sign the citation, right, I wrote UCC. He said, no, man, you can't write UCC on this. He said, you got to write your normal signature. So me personally, I didn't want to waste time, right? Because I knew I messed up. And the reason why I knew I messed up was I wasn't supposed to travel in no registered car. But I'm going to let you guys know the outcome of this whole situation. So after I ended up signing the ticket and everything like that, he told me to park on the side. So, of course, I waited till, he left and everything. My wife came. We left from the scene, right? So nothing happened with that situation, right? And I'm going to tell you why this is a success. If many of y'all don't know it, I got pulled over a few months ago in Texas for driving no plates, no registration, no insurance, no nothing, right? And so the officer issued me a citation, told me to come to court. The court date I never showed up to. I never showed up to the first court date, the second court date, or third court date. Now, imagine, I'm still in Texas, right? So when the police ran my name again when he pulled me over, right? When a different police officer ran my name, no ticket, no warrants, nothing popped up. Because remember, I don't have any contracts in the state of Texas. So when he was going through his computer, he couldn't find anything on me. He said, man, it says you born in Illinois. I'm not seeing nothing. So even my Illinois contracts he don't see. So no contracts was still there. So that is good because I have no contracts with the state. So no warrants was ever issued out under a driver's license. I never had one. Because even the car registration, you can't issue a warrant out on car registration. You only can issue a warrant out on the driver's license or state ID. That's why I always tell you guys never to get in contracts with the state. Because the moment you get in contracts with the state, you waive all your rights. So for the most part, I'll say this is a success because I finally get to know something. I don't care about the citation. We get 100 citations. I got 50 citations and I never showed up to court. And even in Chicago, right? So when I went to Chicago, I got pulled over and stopped. They told me to come to court. I never showed up to court. I got pulled over again for a whole different situation. And that warrant from that court date never showed up. So that's the good thing about traveling, right? Because you don't got to worry about, like traveling with no contracts. So whether you get a citation or not, with no contracts with the state, they can't issue a warrant. So that's my testimony. So that's me telling y'all, yes, them citations don't mean nothing. When I ripped that ticket up and said I ain't going to court, nothing happened. So I got pulled over by the police again. Nothing happened. Not a bench warrant, not nothing. And I searched up on the court docket. Guess what happened to those tickets? They sent it to collections. They send the tickets to collections because they got nothing to collect on. And on top of that, they got no warrant they can issue. So, I would like to say right to travel, succeed once again. Once again, right to travel, succeed. Don't matter if you get them citations. Rip that shit up. If you never had contracts in the state, rip them up. I never had contracts in the state of Texas. I'm not worried about Texas. I never had contracts. I'm ripping them up every time I get a ticket. Listen, and that showed me something else, right? While we want to argue on the side of the road, we can get a police officer's a signature and they'll give us a ticket. You still ain't got to show up. You don't have contracts. So whether you sign the ticket or not, you don't have to show up to court. Whether you give them an address or not, you don't have to go show up to court. You don't have any contracts with the state. So that's what I learned. And that's what I learned in this whole situation. So I'm happy I got pulled over. I'm happy I got cited because now I know that no warrants is linking up to anything. I got over 3 to 4 citations that was issued to me, and not one of them got a warrant on it. Not one. Matter of fact, let me take that back. I got 4 tickets because I got I got another ticket in Florida. It's the same thing. I never show up to court. I never show up to court. That's what I tell a lot of people. They be like, man, bro, I got this court case, man. I was caught driving without a license. What should I say? What should I do? And I say, why are you showing up to court? Why are you not at the DMV canceling out that driver's license to take away that presumption that you're a resident and also take away the court ability to issue a warrant on the driver's license through the Secretary of State? Y'all can't be that crazy, right? So you got to understand that canceling contracts does have power. And like I tell a lot of people, you want to cancel your contracts. You want to make sure you got the state jurisdiction. And that was a good time. This is a very, very good lesson. And for all my nationals out there, I want you guys to know, this stuff is real. So whether you get a citation or not, whether you get a citation, it's a win. Whether you don't get a citation, it's a win. So that same citation I got just a couple of days ago where I ripped it up, the same thing I didn't rip it up, I balled it up. My citation before that, I ripped it up. So regardless or not, I never show up to court. I never pay the ticket. Nothing happens. I'm out. Peace and love.
All right, y'all. So that's the end of this young man's testimony. Unfortunately, what I would say, if any sovereign citizens or potential sovereign citizens is looking at this video, man, I hope y'all don't fall for this nonsense. We don't know what's going to happen with this guy in the near future or the late future. I don't know. I mean, if he's running around getting tickets, it will catch up with him at some point. How it hasn't already, I'm not sure. All right. But on that note, I just want to thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Also hit that notification bell so you get notified when I upload more videos. This is Carl from Sovcits and Chronicles. I'll catch you on the next proceeding. God bless.